as someone with like a very like flowing creativity, I guess you could say, I have so many different book ideas. I counted up a while back and realized I have like 30 plus book ideas.
Dang, that's crazy.
Several like movie ideas, short story, TV show, video game plot.
Okay, Wilson, just tell us a dad joke.
You want a dad joke?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a dad joke. Okay. There was this lady. She was pregnant with twins, right?
Twins.
One
Okay.
boy, one girl. Around the 9-month mark, she gets sick and goes into a coma. She wakes up, and the doctors tell her everything's okay, everyone's healthy. We delivered the twins while you were in your coma. However, your brother wanted to name them, so she got kind of distressed about this. Was like, okay, great. What did he name them? Doctor kind of sighed and said, well, for the girl, her name was Denise. She's like, okay, it's pretty. I like it.
Yeah.
What do you name the nephew? And doctor sighed, put his hands in his head and said,
The nephew.
The nephew. An old one, but a good one.
That's funny.
Welcome back to another episode of Finding Zeal. If you're new here, I'm Cohen. This is my
I'm
co-host, Josh. And yeah, this podcast is all about helping people find and follow their passion. This podcast is for people who don't know what they want to do or just graduated high school or trying to work out, what kind of careers or hobbies they want to pursue.
Or they're anywhere in college and still don't know what they want to do.
Or they're about to go into the super senior year of college and they still don't know what they want to do. And we have a special guest on today.
That's me. I'm Wilson, an old-time friend of Cohen and a new-time friend of Josh.
Yep.
Wilson is one of my newest roommates. He just joined The Bell, which is where we're recording.
The Bell is their house name.
Yeah, it's our house name. And so, yeah, I've known Wilson a long time, since second grade. Which is more years than I can count.
How'd
Through
y'all
every
meet?
awkward stage. But
First impression,
I think, is when we went to the pool. I think we went to the pool in my neighborhood.
Yeah, I do remember going to the pool in your neighborhood, actually. And Wilson's always been tall, so my first impression of Wilson's that he's tall.
I thought Cohen was a pretty fun person, but I mean, as all second graders do, everyone's fun.
Yeah.
And so it was just, we swam, and it got up to about 5 feet tall, the water, which is about the same height as me then.
Yeah.
And so, since I'm sitting down, you can't really tell, or if you're listening, I am 6'7". And
dang,
you were 5 feet in second grade?
Probably not, but it felt like it.
Okay, I didn't hit 5 feet until junior year of high school.
I was about 6 foot tall starting 8th grade year.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, I was
you
5
sat on me
feet
and killed
tall
me.
freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
So
I was a short man.
I was 4'11".
But now I'm 5'10".
Wow.
How tall are you, Josh?
I'm 6'9".
He's 5'10".
Yeah, I'm about the same as Cohen.
Anyways, but Wilson has some interesting stories we're going to get into. He transferred colleges. He's now at A&M. We're going to talk about that experience. We're also going to talk about he's an aspiring author and story writer. So we're going to get into that as well. Before any of that, Wilson, we have some questions that we ask everybody who comes onto the podcast, and these are extremely important and very serious. So
very, very serious.
Yeah, it's
very
important
ready.
you take them very seriously
Okay.
and prepare. But the first one is, what's your favorite cereal and how much milk?
Okay. I've been asked this many a time. I'm kind of weird with cereal because I don't absolutely love milk. I haven't had a glass of milk in years now.
Oh, so you use water.
I use orange juice. Fresh squeezed. No, but I usually have my cereal dry. To answer the second question first, dry. So sometimes I'll pour it in a bowl.
That's a hot take.
Sometimes I'll put it in the cup and just kind of like pour it. It's just easier that way. But my favorite would have to be either the Reese's Puffs.
Oh, yes.
Pretty good. I like Fruit Loops, Apple Jacks, just kind of any of the like really fancy flavored ones.
The very sweet ones.
The very sweet, very like special flavor.
The like Saturday morning.
Well, it makes sense because you don't use it with milk.
Right.
So if you just had like normal Chex or cornflakes or something, that would
kind of a sad little snack.
Reese's cereal is like my favorite.
Oh, it's
so
the
good.
best.
It's so good.
I like Frosted Mini Wheats.
We know.
But and another question we have is when you're growing up in elementary, what was your dream job?
Well,
Or yeah,
What did you want to
aspire?
be?
Yeah.
I'm sure as a lot of young boys and girls growing up, I was very, very into dinosaurs. I could name pretty much everything. One of my friends will still bring it up and be like, "What was this called?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. It's been years, but back then I could tell you."
Yeah.
I would color them. I would like watch anything with dinosaurs in it. So I didn't know the word for it then, but I wanted to be some kind of paleontologist.
Ah,
But as I got older, I realized that is not the field I want to go down.
I fully expected you to say that you wanted to be a dinosaur.
Yeah. There was one time, it was a Saturday. It was the middle of summer, and as summer in Texas is get. It was triple digits. And we found this dinosaur costume that I just had to have. So as soon as my mom bought it, because I had no money of my own, I put that on and walked home in it. It was like a full body, like very thick,
Oh,
you could wear it in
gosh.
snow kind of costume, and I was sweating bullets.
Yeah.
My mom was asking me, "Do you want to take that off? Do you want to keep it on?" I was like, "No, I'm keeping this on. This is what I want." And so I just love dinosaurs.
Dude, that's funny. So when was the age that you kind of were like, I don't want to dig for dinosaur bones?
It kind of, it's hard to remember. It kind of, veered out of that as I got older and kind of realized that it wasn't as simple as, hop in the backyard with a shovel for an hour and finding a T-Rex.
Yeah.
It was more understanding what that all meant and like how much work really does go into that.
Yeah.
And
So you say by like junior high, you were.
no, this
past
was
that.
a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
No, it was probably around like late elementary, 4th grade maybe. And then I
Yeah.
just kind of started just living life, not really knowing what I wanted, but knowing I wanted something. And
Yeah.
so I just kind of went from there.
Actually, you were out in the backyard before this podcast. Were you looking for dinosaurs then?
I was looking.
Okay.
They were everywhere.
That's what we thought. We were confused.
Communication major by day.
Paleontologist by night.
Yeah.
It's harder to dig for them at night, but I still
Title of the
managed.
episode.
Okay, so Wilson and I, we went to school together growing up. So we went to the same small private high school, which I don't even know if I've talked about before in this episode, but we went to a high school with like 30 kids in our class,
Oh, yeah.
roughly.
We hit the legendary mark of having 40, which was the biggest anyone
Yeah.
had ever seen. And I myself was one of 2 people that went there since 1st grade. And then I remember starting 6th grade, we jumped from 15 to like 30 something. And that was the first time anyone at our school had to split the class.
Yeah, that's true. So we went to a really, really small TAPS private school in Texas. And so I'm curious, when did you start thinking about college and what were you thinking about it?
So I always knew that pretty much the path I was going to go down is elementary, junior high, high school, graduate high school, go to college, 4-year degree plus maybe an extra year if I'm majoring or get my master's. But
Yeah.
either way, I knew I was going to go to college. However, it always kind of stressed me out and worried me what if I don't pick the right college? What if I go and end up in a dead-end job that I hate?
Yeah.
So naturally, I just kind of pushed that aside and decided, you know what, I'm just going to maybe take some dual credit classes. I'm going to work ahead. I'm going to do as well as I could in high school, which wasn't very well, but it was well enough.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to focus more on the now and kind of worry about that once I get closer to it.
Yeah.
And so
Where did you go to college after graduating high school?
So I toured around a lot. I thought going to a smaller high school, I would enjoy going to a smaller college because that would be a bigger like shell shock for me, I guess. So I ended up going to Midwestern State University in Wichita Falls, Texas. I don't remember exactly the size of the school, but I want to say class sizes were about 1,000 plus. Okay. And so
as big as my high school.
Yeah. My classroom size, I had anywhere from like 50 to like, I had one classroom in an auditorium that had like 100, but that was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting. I remember I was talking to my mom senior year, trying to decide where to go. And she finally said, "Do you want to just go to Midwestern? Because you're not really going to pick anything." And I was like, yeah, okay. I'll pick this.
What a great way to pick a college.
It wasn't like a heartfelt crying in the rain, I'm going to go here. But it was kind of more, I don't know what I'm doing, but I need to go somewhere, so I'll just go somewhere.
Yeah, kind of just figuring it out as you go.
Mm-hmm.
And so what was your major?
I was about to ask
Majoring there, I was a business major, and I can't remember what I don't think I had a minor declared yet, but just majored in business. Kind of since focusing on college, I know I want to go into sales of some sort, so business is the best path for that. And through that, I just knew that kind of they had a lot of good contacts at the school, such as Dr. Phil went to Midwestern State University.
No way.
Dr. Phil?
Dr. Phil.
The Dr.
I don't think
Phil.
he graduated from there, but he did attend for a while.
Oh, hey, same as you, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You're pretty much the next Dr. Phil.
Oh, yeah. Look out for me.
Shave your head.
Yep.
Dr. White.
Yep. And so it was a good place. They had a lot. Like, we had, I think it was the CEO for, like I think it was Pizza Hut came and spoke one time, and that was real cool. It was like he's the one I think that owns like Pizza Hut and like Taco Bell and some other name brand places that like running those chains together.
Yeah.
And they're apparently thinking about adding like a hamburger place that's kind of newer, but I haven't heard anything since then.
Interesting.
So look out for that. You heard it here first.
Oh, shoot. Insider trading? Gotta go buy some Pizza Hut
Pizza
stock.
Hut stock.
Yeah.
Getting a little in the burger action.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a fun learning experience there too, and I made a lot of really good close friends. And then it was just not as many people there as I was looking for as well. I quickly learned that I had met a lot of people, and something that I thrive on is meeting people and like making acquaintances, going to things, and just that wasn't as widely available there.
Yeah. So now you're at Texas A&M,
Mm-hmm.
and you're a
I am.
junior.
I am.
What's your major now?
Major now, so I wanted to do business here, but it was very competitive, and
Yeah.
since I didn't plan on coming to Texas A&M from the start, they told me that it'd be a lot harder for me to get in since I didn't take the like necessary like prereq classes.
Yeah.
And so they told me that this was spring of like 2020. It was like right after the new year, so it was like January maybe. So I came, toured here, and they told me that I probably wouldn't be able to really apply till fall of 2021, which meant either another year at MSU, another year doing dual credit classes or a junior college, and then that. And so I decided best thing for me to do would just switch my major to something a little less competitive and come here. And so I switched to communication, which is a great major, and I love it, and minor in business.
Nice.
And that's what you're sticking with?
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it's incredibly competitive to get into Mays.
It really is. They don't take many people.
Yeah.
And I quickly found out, too, they told me that if I started as like any other major, I can't transfer over to Mays Business School. Like, they wouldn't accept that, even if you
dang.
already go to A&M. And so, like, I could have like a 4.0, great grades, great classes, like everything, and they most likely, like, I don't think would accept me just to kind of keep it competitive.
That's crazy. Wait, so what made you decide to transfer from MSU?
So, as I said, I had great friends there, and I enjoyed my time there, but there was a lot of times that I found myself with all my homework done, all my schooling done, and a lot of my friends would be busy, and I didn't have enough connections to really go to different events, and there weren't really anything open for me to do. So I'd spend time playing Xbox, going home for the weekend because I was only an hour away, and go hang out with friends back there. And I felt like I wasn't really getting like a college experience. Like I love football. That's one thing I love watching. And we had 3 home games that year. And we had a good team, but it felt like the atmosphere at the games wasn't really excited. It was more just going and watching instead of going to cheer. And there were people cheering, but just when I went, I didn't feel that atmosphere as much. And for example, I got up and used the restroom and came back, and I didn't know we scored. I couldn't hear anything.
Gosh.
And so that's kind of when I decided I want to go somewhere, especially that has like a good football team, and at least even the team's not good, somewhere that the fans are fun.
Oh, dude.
And so
Have you been to an A&M game
I
yet?
have not gotten to yet.
Oh, gosh.
I know. I'm very looking forward to it.
Oh, you're going to be very surprised.
Mhm.
Have you
Yeah.
been to Midnight Yell?
I haven't either.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're going on Friday probably?
I want to.
Okay, you should.
Apparently, there's been this like pandemic going on that kind of shut down my transfer year last year.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get to do much A&M stuff.
If you're a first-time listener to the podcast, we all go to Texas A&M which is in which is in College Station, Texas. And if you don't know what Midnight Yell is, it's how do you even describe Midnight Yell?
It's
At football games, we do a bunch of cheers. We don't have
Yeah,
cheerleaders. And so we have yell leaders, which are a couple guys in the core. And the core is like,
ROTCs.
yeah, it's pretty much, it's a big sector of A&M. It's a lot of people that want to go into the military. And so they pretty much go, like, it's pretty much like they're going to a military school. They have to do a bunch of military stuff. I don't really understand it completely. But pretty much the guys that are the yell leaders are in that. And they are at almost every sporting event, and they lead a bunch of cheers for us. And so Midnight Yell is like the practice for that. And so they have a bunch of cheers that are like, farmers fight, farmers fight, 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 farmers fight, hey. And then we do like our Wildcat and stuff. So a bunch of A&M stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, so you go there to practice.
Yeah.
And it's mostly like just like the hype up.
Yeah,
the
just
football
hypes up
for
the
next
game.
day.
It's the night before our game. And whenever you're listening to this episode, our first A&M game of the 2021 season is next Saturday.
Yeah, this coming.
Oh, yeah, the next
Yeah,
We're
Saturday.
recording on August 30th, and the game is this weekend,
Yeah.
September 4th.
Yeah. Heck
But
yeah.
the time you're listening to this is
Whoops.
oops, good thing that wasn't open. But the time you're listening to this will probably be way later in the semester, because we're going to be holding on to this episode until we need a break week.
It's a very
So-
special episode.
Very
Yeah.
special.
So who knows when this is coming out? It could be
Years.
a week from now, or 5 weeks from now, or 10 weeks from now.
Maybe you're listening to this on our Patreon because we blew up and we make this behind a paywall.
Maybe there's about to be a Raid Shadow Legends sponsor in the middle of this podcast that we record later because we've blown up so much.
Yeah, right.
Anyways, that was a huge tangent.
Oh, yeah. He was talking about deciding to transfer schools.
Yeah, so it sounds like to me you basically just didn't find like the community and the atmosphere that you're really looking for in college. And so you just, even though you made the wrong decision the first time, you made the right decision.
I did. And I have some friends here that actually invited me to come once they kind of knew that I wasn't fully happy at Midwestern State. They told me, hey, come visit A&M, come for a night, and we'll take you around the campus.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, okay, I mean, I've heard of A&M, but I know that's a giant school. I kind of want somewhere where I can at least know a lot of people. And I was like, okay, whatever, I'll go. So I came with my mom, and we met with the I can't remember her name, but the person who like helps you, the financial aid lady.
Financial advisor.
Advisor, that's it. Yeah. Met with the advisor. And so we met with her kind of in the afternoon. Then that evening I walked around with my friends, and they're like, here's this is where this happens, here's this. And just the whole time, so much fun. I would just see people like, and she kept apologizing. She's like, sorry, there's not a lot of people out tonight. And there was just hundreds of people. And I was just like, you have no idea how many more this is than like at MSU, you walk across campus in 10 minutes. You bump into a lot of people, and you'll see maybe 2 people but it has like nothing on here. For example, like today I passed probably like 1,000 people just
You
going
passed
to
more
class.
than 1,000 people.
It's insane.
Today was super busy. Today was the first day of classes at Texas A&M, so
Yeah, it was brutal.
traffic, 70,000 people all driving to the same spot.
And
And
then
biking and walking, and it's pretty crazy, honestly.
And for some reason, it seemed like 40,000 of them were inside the Zachary building today, which is where all my classes are.
that is
All those
perfect.
freshman engineers going to the engineering 102
Yep.
Python class.
Yep, and I had to wait and watch them stumble around. It was
Watch
pretty
them walk
brutal.
around, check their phone, look up, check their phone again.
Call someone.
The class isn't here.
All the rooms are 1 mine's in 2.
Doesn't make any sense.
So Wilson, what would if you, like, for somebody listening to this podcast who's maybe not enjoying, they're in their freshman year, and maybe they're, about to finish their freshman year, or they just finished their freshman year or something like that, and they're not really enjoying where they're going, what would be your advice to them? Would your advice be to transfer? Would your advice be to try and dig in and, get more involved? Or what would your advice be?
So it's kind of a hard thing because I do have a friend actually that I gave similar advice to. She's over in Florida wanting to leave to come back home because she didn't enjoy the environment there, I believe.
Yeah.
But what I told them and what I've basically told myself is the best thing to do in a situation where you're not happy is kind of analyze why. Analyze, have I really given it at least 85% effort? At least a lot of effort into, okay, I'm trying to make friends. I'm trying to be happy in this place. I'm trying to become more involved, become more plugged in. And if that answer is yes, then maybe it is time for you to leave. But also, if you're not able to leave, then it always can get to where, like, there were a lot of times that me and some friends there would go on a road trip to go get, barbecue an hour away, or we'd go get a hamburger an hour away. There was times where we would have like movie nights, and just I loved those times and I craved them, and they were just really fun hanging out with people. But just a majority of me knew that it'd be better for me personally if I went somewhere else. And nothing against those people. I just wanted myself somewhere different. And so if you are thinking maybe I should transfer, maybe I shouldn't, what do I do? I would say just kind of think about it, look around, and kind of see what realistically would be the best decision. Because the hardest thing I think also is thinking about transferring is sometimes it sounds kind of like you're saying, well, I failed here, I wasn't successful, and now I'm quitting.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's not the truth. What the truth is that you just didn't fit there, and you'd fit so much better somewhere else. Because the second I got to A&M, I knew this is where I belong, and I was so much happier.
Yeah.
It was just a lot better.
A&M's the best.
It really is. Everybody should go to A&M.
Everyone should.
Everyone should go to A&M.
Yeah.
A&M is so big. There's just like a spot for everyone.
It really is true. I say a really important lesson that I think everybody can learn from your experience, Wilson, is that the people that you're with impact like the majority of the experience that you're getting at a university or like a job or something like that. Like
your
community. If you're working, like my dad would always say, if you're digging a ditch with your best friends, that's way more fun, and like you have a way better day doing that than you would working at like this really high end job with people that you absolutely hate.
Yeah.
And so like, and also another thing is you are who your 5 closest friends are.
Yeah.
And so like to look at the people around you, and are those the people, are they striving for the same things that you're striving for? Do they have the same kind of goals and ambitions? And if they don't, then maybe those aren't the people that are like, maybe that's not your like close knit community that's really going to push you to, be better or, achieve the things that you're wanting to achieve. Because eventually you will become who your closest friends kind of are.
Yeah. It's pretty much unavoidable. It's kind of hard to not be like the people that you're around all the time.
Yeah, like I never played disc golf, and now that Josh is in my inner circle, I sometimes go play disc golf.
Yeah, literally every day I'm like, hey, Cohen, you want to come play disc golf? And he's like, yeah, sure.
And so, yeah, I think that like you just talking about, I don't know, your story kind of just made me think of some of those things.
Yeah, it's just kind of all about what you decide to do and what you think is best for you. And it's always okay to stay somewhere, and it's always okay to transfer out somewhere.
Yeah.
Good word. Okay. Transition into a new thought.
You can transfer it to a new thought.
Wow, that was a very smooth transition. I didn't even know you were doing it.
Wait, we changed subjects?
But a little birdie told me that you are interested in becoming an author, you've been working on like different stories and potentially writing different books. So tell us about that. When did you like start making stories or creating stories?
So I think a lot of times I would just love to like read different stories, tell different stories, kind of as every little kid would do, play those imaginary games with the stick in your hand and, a friend, and you'd fight bad guys or rescue something or race this or do anything. And just, it kind of came down to where I wanted that almost to be real in a sense, but where I could almost relive it as well. And I remember around 3rd grade, I realized that writing is kind of fun. Like, I may not love it if I have to write like a research paper for biology or something.
Yeah, you.
But if I get to write this game I've just thought of or this scene I just thought of, then that's now a lot more real to me because I can just go over it again and again. And in 3rd grade, I had very out there, not really well developed stories that I was planning that just look, because I found some of those the other day, and looking at those, I was like, what was I thinking? It's not good at all.
This dinosaur is fighting this dinosaur and then I'm in the backyard and I found a dinosaur.
Yeah, do you remember any like of those any of the plots to the ones that you like first thought of in elementary school?
I remember one, it somehow started where an acorn fell from a tree, that the tree was like a spaceship or something. And like, I remember I was one of the characters, but I always used my middle name because I didn't want to use my first name because I thought that was weird for some reason. Because I didn't want to be all about me, but I wanted it to, just where people wouldn't notice. Yeah. And so it was something like we'd get in the spaceship and then realize there's like this whole like space war going on that like somehow would get involved in. And it was just always like just very weird.
Yeah.
Just very bad.
What's your
writing
middle name?
too. Joshua.
Oh, no way.
Really?
My name's Joshua Wilson.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, your middle name's Wilson?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
So Wilson Joshua Wilson.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
That is crazy.
That's
I was
really-
going to say something at the beginning of the
Yeah.
podcast when you were like, I'm Wilson. I was like, yeah, he has a cool name. He's named after my middle name or something like that. But
That's
you could
so
say the
random.
same thing
Yeah,
about me.
Exactly. That's so random. You don't see that ever. I've never-
No, yeah, it doesn't
Yeah.
happen very often. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Well, the weird thing is we're like that, but my sister, her name is Grace Catherine Miller. And then Megan, who's one of our friends, I believe her sister's name is like Catherine Grace or something like that. I could be butchering in
yeah.
that. I hope Megan's not listening and I'm just completely wrong.
It's probably like, it's spelled M-E.
I don't know, dude. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Cohen
an inside joke,
misspells
sorry.
Megan's name all the time.
as my name's Wilson, my brother's name is Jackson, and one of his closest friends is Jackson Wilson.
No way.
Mm-hmm. So it's just stuff like that. Just is
No,
always
yeah, and then
hilarious.
my roommate, he our freshman, well, okay, me and my roommate lived together freshman year, and we had suite mates, and their names were Logan and Alex.
Okay.
And at that time, his sister was dating a guy named Logan, and her name is Alex.
Oh, that's so weird.
I know, it's just weird stuff like that
You
happens
just-
sometimes.
I know, and it feels like it happens way more than it should.
No, yeah, there's always just weird
Yeah.
name things that happen, and it's just like, what?
Yeah, and like there's so many names out there that you think like there wouldn't be much like overflow.
Yeah.
It's just
All right, Cohen and I fully expect to be named something in your book.
okay. I can do that. I remember. I think it was freshman year. I had this binder because I hated paying attention in class.
Yeah.
So I would just write, and somehow that helped me pay attention. But people would always ask, "What are you writing?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I'm just writing a book." And they're like, "Oh, cool. Can I be in it?" And I was always like, "Yeah, sure." And I lost track of who I wanted to. So I'd always have them fill out this thing of like, "What do you want to be named? What do you want your weapon to be? Do you want to be good or bad? Do you want to live or die? What species do you want to be?" Because as someone with like a very like flowing creativity, I guess you could say, I have so many different book ideas. I counted up a while back and realized I have like 30 plus book ideas.
Dang, that's crazy.
Several like movie ideas, short story, TV show, video game plot, like just so many that are like in such a small like simple flow that there's not much to them yet,
Yeah.
but I could always like branch off with them.
Are you ready to expose any of those?
Sometimes, yeah, I have some ideas. I have one full plot written out.
Oh,
that's
really?
If I remember, it's 26 chapters, or it might be 32. Those are usually around where I hit. But kind of once I finished that, I realized that I didn't think I was good enough to write that story yet, and I want that to be a pretty good story because I love the idea of it. And I can dive more into the idea of that story in a minute. But I have one book right now that I'm working on finishing the plot.
Okay, so once you finish it, what's the like next step?
So usually for me, like I'll start with like the idea and the characters, and then I'll kind of pretty much make the plot as I go and just kind of do like an outline and get that all set up. And once I do that, then I make like an official outline where I do like chapter 1, this happens. I'll make that like between a paragraph and a page, depending on how like excited I am about it.
Yeah.
And once that's done, then pretty much what I'll do is I'll take that chapter and I'll just sit down and write. Like I have a lot of different, in my computer, I have a lot of different files. It's like chapter 1 for like this book, and I'll name it something simple and just be able to remember that. Like I have this book that right now is called Sword, and then there's a branch off story that I'm working on that's called Axe, and then this might be Dagger, and then it's just kind of like simple like that. That way I can look at it and be like, okay, this comes here, this is here, and then honestly, this is another weird thing is I've only forgotten one idea in my life that I've like written down because I was flipping through like a journal that I had and it just said video game and it had a guy's name and I just put a big question mark on it because I don't remember writing it. Like,
That's pretty funny.
everything else I can look at, be like, okay, I wanted this. Yeah, I remember this and this is going to happen this way and then all that. And so
Video game Joshua?
So, okay, you showed me this summer. You showed me like you had like an outline for like a big story
Mhm.
or whatever. Like, you had it like fully built out.
yeah.
Tell us about what that is and where you are. Like, what are your goals for? Are you like plan on trying to write and like actually publish that?
So with that story, that's the one I was talking about earlier that I want to kind of wait on a little
Okay.
bit. But right now I have about, I believe, 10 to like 12 pages of outline for the newest one I'm working on. And then I've constantly had the struggle of like writing one and be like, oh, I like this idea better. I'll switch to this and come back. So I have a lot of very well like half written stories.
Yeah.
But this one and another one are the two that I've bounced around with, and I've made myself commit to this one first and then the second one second. But with this one, once I finish the outline, then hopefully I can move on to like writing the actual story. Because one of the biggest things I always tell myself that I've read somewhere, they say, is you can always edit a bad book, but you can't edit a blank page. So it
Yeah.
always kind of keeps me from thinking, this isn't good. I shouldn't write it this way because I can always come back and change that.
Yeah.
I just
that
need
makes
to
sense.
pretty much put pen on paper and computer.
That makes sense.
Just go from there.
So do you want to give us like a brief like story plot of this book? Or you
can,
obviously don't
so-
want to give up the ending maybe,
Yeah.
but
So this book I'm very excited about is basically a Revolutionary War kind of era. I think probably a little bit before.
Mm-hmm.
But basically there's the Redcoats are sailing to the New World with some civilians on the boat, and they for some reason kind of went through like not like a pirate but like a like ship and crew that's not with the Royal Navy, I guess
Okay,
you
yeah.
could say. And they basically crash on this island. And there kind of comes down to this like feud between the sailors and the Redcoats, and the civilians are caught in the middle. And while this is happening, there may or may not be some kind of like beast on the island. And throughout there's hints given that, like, for example, there's one little kid that's on the boat and he sees a pirate ship in the distance and starts yelling and shooting at it, but when everyone else looks at it, it's gone. So you're clearly able to tell that like it's his imagination just kind of running and he's playing these games. So when he first gets on the island, he like sees the creature, but when someone else looks, there's nothing there, no trace of it. So eventually some people go missing, and it comes down to, was it a deranged person that took them and killed them, or was it some actual creature there? And I want the like readers to like have to answer that question themselves until the end when it's given, but I have to make sure that it's written well enough to where
They don't know.
they don't know.
Yeah.
And I think I did a good job story-wise, but just writing it, I was a little worried I wouldn't be able to pull it off. But it's going
Yeah.
to be a very good story, and I have very well-developed characters that a lot you'll have to not get too attached to, but it'll be good. It's going to be pretty much a toss-up on who lives and who doesn't.
So what's your like process?
Pretty much the way it usually starts is like I'll watch a movie or like a TV show or read something or play a game and think, oh, it'd be so cool if this happened. And I start thinking, well, what if I made that happen? And then I start thinking, well, what if I did a story where this happens to this to this? And then I'll start thinking, okay, well, for this story, for example, I want there to be this, king who's able to fight this country. I start thinking, okay, well, who would that king be? Who would his soldiers be? Okay, who would probably get killed in this? Well, what if the king died? Okay, what would happen next? And then what if this place was actually the good guys the whole time? So I'll just kind of flow through that and think, and usually it's a very quick process somehow that I'm able to, because I think I get so excited I just put so much into it that I
Yeah.
get a bunch of characters like hammered out, and I'll usually just throw down names for them and then either get attached to them or be like, okay, I don't like that, I'll come back and change it. Usually it's Josh, but so it'll just kind of go from there, and I'll kind of hammer out the details as I go. But a lot of times I think like I'll even write like on a notebook paper the 13. I like 13 or like 23 because those are usually the lines on like a notebook. And so I'll write down like 1 through whatever number it is, and then put at random spots, okay, this is where this big twist happens, and kind of make like a very rough outline of what I thought would be a good story with this original idea. And then from there, I usually just kind of add to it, add characters. And there's even times where I'll be writing and I'll think, oh, what if they had like a neighbor that talks to him for a few minutes, and then just in the middle of writing come up with this character I never knew existed. And sometimes it's almost like watching a show or reading a book and just seeing it happen as I go. And then it's really weird whenever I have to stop and I get pulled out of it. It's like, oh, I just did that. I wasn't reading it.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty fun.
It's a whole creative flow process.
Yeah.
Of just like imagination and stuff. It's crazy.
It is. Do you like take inspiration from any like specific authors or people or anything?
Specific authors, not as much. I like taking, because I have a hard time keeping authors separate from their stories that they write. So I guess accidentally I do. Like I'll read some like famous books like Lord of the Rings or like Harry Potter, and I love those authors because they did a great job with those stories. But I'll treat it kind of like almost as if that happened, and see the way they write and describe and think, okay, I need to describe this better. I can describe it more like this, or use not the same descriptions they did, but their same way of creating a scene and kind of painting that picture, which is still something I feel like even the best authors can learn further.
Yeah, I feel like that'd be the hardest part about writing is like writing just like full pages of just like descriptions about what's going on, you know, because like a chapter might be like 20 pages. You could probably summarize it in
like a paragraph.
Yeah. Honest, you could spark note.
Yeah, you
know
could
what I'm
literally
saying?
be like, oh yeah, Jack made it to the boat. He was okay. Nothing else happened. And it took like a full chapter for someone, you know?
Yeah, but there was like all this description, and it makes
Yeah.
you feel like immersed in it or whatever.
Yeah.
And I
Like
think
you're
that's
actually there.
The hard thing too with reading is like I have ADHD, so I get like pulled out of stuff whenever I start reading, and it starts losing my attention. And so a lot of times with stuff I write, I want to make sure that I give like the readers the opportunity to like paint the picture themselves too. So like for instance, if I was describing someone, I could say like they had black hair to here, their eyebrows looked like this, their nose was like this, their mouth was like this, and paint like a very like black and white picture of them that like is very like cut, and you can picture them perfectly. But a lot of times when I'm reading that, I'll kind of skip through that a lot and just picture them myself. And so I want to give enough description to like characterize them, like maybe if they have a scar or a large nose or something like that, then I'll say that. But other than that, I like to leave it up to whoever's reading it to kind of see them as who they want them to be.
Yeah.
That honestly kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Because like most of the time when I think back, I haven't really read that much. Full transparency. But whenever like when I was a little kid, my dad would read us like all the Narnias and stuff like that. And whenever I think of the characters, I would usually make characters somebody I've seen before.
Yeah.
Like I would imagine that, like, you know, Harry Potter or whoever, or well, Aslan's straightforward line, but just like people that I've seen, or I would equate them to be that, if that makes sense. I don't know.
No, I get that, and I feel like a lot of people do that more than they realize too.
No, for sure.
And just I think a lot with writing is one of the reasons that it's still like such a big part of people's lives is it can do something that like TV shows and like movies don't do, is it takes you somewhere that you make up. Because a lot of like movies and TV shows, which I love watching, I watch TV all the time, is all you can watch it and you're still there, but it's like you can rewind it and still have that same thing happen. You can see it again, you can see the same as someone else. But if you read a book, then it's pretty much, even though it's like written, even though someone else created it, it kind of becomes yours and becomes something that like you can treasure and hold on to, and you can see for yourself that you may not be able to show someone else, but even if someone else sees it, they won't see it the same way as yours, and that makes it kind of more special for you.
It kind of guides your imagination. It's like which I've never thought about that before.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's very interesting.
Wait, I had another question. One second. What was it?
I have a question, so while you're thinking.
Okay, Cohen's got it.
What is like the timetable of like, what are some of your next steps of this book, and like realistically, when do you think you would finish it?
Yeah. So that is kind of the problem, is a lot of, especially being in college, a lot of life stuff come up.
Yeah.
So I haven't really written in a couple weeks now. And so I think I could potentially, if I put a lot of time into it, I think I could finish a book within a couple months, maybe a year. But just, I mean, I've been writing, trying to be published since I was maybe 17-ish. And 3 years, I haven't gotten anything really to show for it. Like, I can pull up old rough drafts, I can pull up old pages, but like, you can't really go research me.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that I can get myself to find the time this semester to where it doesn't affect school, it doesn't affect like A&M, doesn't affect like hanging out with friends and doing like stuff in person and all that, but to where I can find that time to where I can say, okay, here for this next hour, I'm going to go write. And I'm hoping that maybe by the end of this year I could have something pretty done, but that's just kind of where we're at.
Yeah. It's hard when you're doing something creative to be like, schedule it in your time, like ahead of time.
Yeah.
Because
Spur of the moment.
Yeah. You never know whenever you're going to feel like really creative and have a lot of good ideas.
Yeah.
And then, whereas like sometimes you're like, I have nothing. Like I don't know.
Writer's block. It's like a thing.
Yeah. But then there'll be times like you're just at work or something. You're like, I have a million ideas right now. Like I need to write these down or whatever. Yeah. And it's also hard, like when you're trying to create something kind of outside of the norm, like most people will go their whole life without writing a book.
Right.
And so it's hard to like find time. Like you have to make sacrifices. Like when Josh and I have been working on creating this podcast, we've basically been working all summer. Yeah. And I mean, at the time of recording this, we haven't even launched yet.
Yeah, we don't even have anything to show for it yet.
Yeah, we have like a 1 minute 50-second intro. That's also like probably our worst thing.
20 views.
Not even. I think it was like 18 or something. Yeah. But it's it's hard because we would have to spend time after our 40-hour work weeks, and we'd our schedules have to align, and then we have to align with a third person's schedule. Yeah. Like we tried to get you to come on the podcast for like a month now, probably.
Yeah, I think because I was out of country, then sick, and then you got sick.
Yeah.
And then just kept getting delayed.
Yeah. So I mean,
thankfully
we're finally recording, but it's just hard because it requires late nights and you're trying to work on something for yourself. Because the cool thing about a book is once you publish it, then it's just like completely passive income potentially.
Hopefully, yeah.
Which is really cool. And like it might not really turn out to be much, but in the off chance that it turns out to be kind of cool, like that's awesome.
And that's another thing is why I'm trying to stay on like very specific ideas for my first book is I know a lot of people have a hard time with their first book being super successful. And so I want it to be like, I have a lot of also like.
Don't want to use your stuff up.
Yeah. And I have a lot of ideas that like could potentially be like 7 or 8 books long.
Yeah. And
I don't want to have a really rough start. And then I put all this work into book 2, book 3. And then by the time book 4 rolls around, people are like, oh, I like this. If only, this first couple weren't as bad.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why I want to do a few standalone books first.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense.
It's also smart. Yeah. Like with any creative project, like you're always going to be bad. Like you're going to look at yourself a year from now and you'll probably be like, oh man, that story or that book maybe wasn't as good. Like same with like creating videos. Like when I've created videos before and posted them on YouTube, like that's why most people cringe or whatever at their like older videos or their older things they've done, or if they write music or
make TikToks.
Well, I mean, imagine if I made that spaceship book where the acorn fell on someone and it opened a spaceship,
You were in freaking 3rd grade or something.
That was not very good.
Yeah, the thing is, the reality is most people have to start there, and then it's the people that are willing to like put themselves out there to grow, the people that kind of end up succeeding. So.
Edit a bad book, but not a blank page.
Yeah,
nice. That's smart. Okay, so you're doing communication with a business minor. What's your plan? Like, do you want to work for a while and just do author on the side, or are you hoping to like what's the long-term plan?
So I feel like with a lot of author it's a lot of odd hours, a lot of time, and a lot of criticism and a lot of potential failure. And I know that is a very like, if you have a bad book, then that kind of really throws everything off.
Yeah.
And so I know that I also want to do it as something that I enjoy, not something that really stresses me out and causes me a lot of grief.
Yeah.
So my overarching plan is to go into like a classic type of business or sales or become something with that, and then
With something you enjoy, right?
yeah, something,
Okay.
and it can even be something that I moderately enjoy, just as long as
yeah, for
I
sure.
enjoy it. And then on the side, because everyone has times where they come home and they have time.
Yeah.
Even if you're working long hours and making money and, pouring yourself into that work, even if
Yeah.
you love it, you still have time in the day.
Yeah.
And I want to potentially fill that time with writing. And who knows, if something does happen where I sell a book that makes a lot of money for some reason,
Yeah.
then I can always, continue working, stop working, work on writing more full time, split the difference. But either way, I think it's a smarter goal to do something more stable with, business and with sales and with that than it would be to pour everything I have into writing and kind of, so to speak, sell everything I have and move to Hollywood,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've been writing for a little while now. What made you not decide to go into school for something writing intensive or kind of like prepare you to be an author?
Yeah. I've thought about it, and quite frankly, writing, it does scare me sometimes because I look at myself and I will often compare what I've written to like writings of other people, and I think like, oh, there's no way I could do that. And so I feel like if I went into a more writing school, I could get more stressed out and compare myself more and more to people that are just naturally better than me and more gifted.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that could potentially burn that out and make me feel like, okay, I shouldn't do this at all. When I feel like I can almost be self-taught and then take a few classes myself online or YouTube, just kind of tips and tricks on how to be a good writer and self-publish and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so
you haven't finished your first book yet, right? You're
not
working
yet.
on it.
I am.
So have people like read your stuff yet? Have you gotten any kind of criticism or?
Yeah. I have a few good friends that I've read. They haven't given like official criticism. They'd say like, I have one friend that he loves to change the story to something more extreme. No, I'm not doing that. But for a graduation gift, actually, I had a close friend give me like a website that they made that I can like post writings on. So
Oh, cool.
Yeah. I used to like post on that some, and it's still up. It's in my Instagram bio. So
Oh, sick.
it's just kind
You
of
want to
like,
plug it real quick for our 5
Wilson
listeners?
White 5. It's on Instagram. It's me. But I think that's my Instagram. But yeah, so yeah, I just have some writings on there, and some of them are good, some of them are really not. There's one because one of my other ideas I want to do is kind of like Western stories, and so I got really into that for a while and wrote a couple. And one of them I spent a lot of time on, and I felt like it was really good. It was like, I think 17 pages maybe. And so I posted that and was kind of like, I don't know where I'm going to take the story yet. So I decided to give that a pause and switch to something else. Because a lot of it is, I have a hard time writing standalone books. A lot of what I want to do is like continual, like keep the story flowing, and almost kind of like maybe even a book of short stories with it, or like not a comic book per se, but kind of something along those lines towards like there's issues or episodes. But yeah, so
Cool.
Interesting. I was just looking up how much like fiction authors can make and stuff like that, because I'm kind of curious about, how much people that write books, like, is it really profitable or is it not? And well, I looked up, I don't know how true this was, but I looked up the average, it must be full-time author, was like $49,000 a year.
Oh,
Which I feel like
that's way cheaper than I thought it was gonna be.
Like way less money.
Yeah.
That's way more money than I thought it was going to be.
Really? I thought it was going to be way better.
I've done some research into it, and what I found is it really depends on who the author is. Because there's all kinds of writings. There's like magazine writers who have like that steady income, like reporting writing, like writing scripts, writing plots, writing books, magazines, like even like, books for class, everything.
Yeah.
And so from what I've learned is like a good number to kind of think about is like, also if you're publishing through like a company, which potentially you would get more books out there but less money for it.
Yeah.
Or if you self-publish, where you'll get less books out there but more money for it per book. And it kind of comes down to just how good you are at it. And
Yeah.
so you can make as little as like 10 cents a book and sell 10 books and, go buy yourself something off the dollar menu. Or you could sell like 1,000 books at like $20 a book and just make a lot of money from that. It just kind of depends really on how well your story is, how much people want it, and really if they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a lot of books out there that
Yeah.
nobody ever reads.
Yeah.
But I was reading this with a quick Google search. I was like, how much do like best-selling books make? And
A lot of money.
just right here is saying like if you sold 20,000 books at $25 a piece, that'd be about $65,000, and that happened, or like they're saying for best-selling books that happens in the first week.
Right.
Oh,
About
wow.
so $65,000 in 1 week.
And I feel like that's another hard thing for like, especially for me or anyone that's wanting to go into writing like professionally, is if I chose that to be like my main career, I could set it up and let's say I sell a book and it makes that much money, or let's say I make like 20,000. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, great, that's so much money that'll last me like a month or two, and then I can sell another one, and the next one makes 20,000, and I'm like, okay, great, and I get on that, and then I sell a third one and it makes nothing. Then kind of where do I go from there? I've just spent so long working on this book, finalizing, and I thought it was good enough to send, and then I have no money coming in, and so that's another reason why I'm kind of hesitant to do that like as a true profession.
Yeah, but the thing is, the more books you get, like those, say that happens, and those first 2 books would still be generating slow income over time.
Right.
Like you could post a book now and not do very well. You only make a couple bucks. Then later, maybe like a couple $100, and maybe like 10 years later, you just get a random spike
Yeah.
of like $1,000 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're always, well, I don't really know how it works, but I would assume that your book would almost always be for sale.
Right.
Yeah, like I just bought a Tom Clancy book from like so long ago. Like he just got money for that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Like the second you have a book out there, there's always going to be some kind of income, which is pretty interesting.
And I think like the other thing is also like if I get some books out there that don't do well, and then I get my name out there, and they're like, oh, this guy's a really good author, I wonder what else he has. They're like, oh, here's some books that he made a long time ago, I want to get these.
Yeah.
So there's always a chance for like older books to spike as well. I just don't want to have to rely on fans and people and readers to like support that almost, because that could honestly come and go like in an instant.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
do you want to be with like a publisher, or do you want to be by yourself?
I think at first by myself, because I've done some research and I've just heard, especially if I'm only going to really make 1 or 2, it's a lot better and I make more money from it total by getting it through myself. But then like with a publisher, there's a lot of like promotions they do, a lot of like extra income that you can get from it, and then they really get your book out there. That's what you're paying them for. But if it's a book that's going to make like $20, I'd rather get most of that for myself. But if it's making like, for example, like $6 million and they're taking 1, I get 5, like I'll be very happy with that.
Yeah.
That's fair. So kind of to wrap things up, if you could just create stories, or whether that's books or for TV shows, or writing scripts for movies, if you could do that for the rest of your life, would you?
Yes. So pretty much though, one of my like main things I've always thought about is like, where do I want to live outside of college?
Yeah.
And I've always thought like I would love to live in like a house out in the country, kind of, that's not like real rugged, but a nicer house that has nice land and you can drive to town and stuff. And it'd be real fun to have that house like where I can build it myself, or like not personally but hire people to build it and like plan it. But one of the things that I would love to have is like my own little like study, or like an office that I can just write in. Because I picture having like a real cool desk that I write at, like maybe different like book titles on the wall, different like clipboards. Because a lot of the times when I write also, I get very chaotic with it. I'm like, this guy connects to this connects to this. Oh, this can go here. Oh my gosh, this guy can be, like related to him somehow. And so a lot of what I want is kind of harder for me to follow sometimes. So having like, I have a lot of big poster boards back home where I just sketched on it and drew everything out and was able to get like pretty much all my ideas thrown out onto that just giant piece of paper pretty much. And so I'm able to pretty much if I had like a room where I could do that, that would just be amazing. But I'm very certain that I will pretty much either attempt or be writing pretty much until the day I die.
Nice. So, like, what advice would you give to like an aspiring author?
Pretty much I would give the advice that I've heard is just keep writing, because yeah, there are no bad ideas, but there can be like bad ways to show an idea. But as long as you get that pen in your hand and put it on paper or type on a computer, however you want to write, just give yourself time to like enjoy what you're doing. Because I fully think that like anyone is capable of writing a book, but I think a lot of people stop themselves because they think this isn't very good, this isn't a good idea, no one would want this. But really, like, who cares if no one would want that? If you want it, so many other people in the world might want it too. And so there's just enough of a chance that if you think it's good, that someone else will.
Yeah, it's honestly pretty great advice, because whenever like I used to try and learn about like target audiences and like niches for like on YouTube for like videos and stuff like that, and people, a lot of the advice that I would hear is like, your chances are your number one audience, like, make videos for your past self. Like, your number one audience is probably going to be somebody who was you a few years ago, like your exact self a few years ago. Because even though you might think that nobody else has the same interests as you or has the same problems as you, if you like play basketball and run cross country and, you know, make good grades, but you're struggling and you have no idea about, you're trying to learn how to make a video for the first time.
Yeah.
Somebody else, and like you go to church on Sunday and Wednesday nights and you do all this, like somebody else has that exact same situation.
Yeah.
And so like starting with like a very small specific group of people is actually a fairly good way to like start an audience.
Interesting.
And like one thing I always think about is like look at like, you know, science and like chemistry and stuff like that, which I just utterly cannot do. I just don't enjoy anything about it, don't like anything, and just want to leave that where it is. But so many people find that so interesting, which I don't, but they do. Same as things I find interesting, other people may not, but that's just kind of the way life really is.
Yeah.
Is everyone is interested in something. And there's only so many things in the world that there is going to be some overlap there.
Yeah.
So many people are going to find what you find interesting, they're going to find it interesting as well.
Yeah.
And so,
Cool.
Good word.
Nice.
Well, we're going to get into our final segment that we always do called...
that we always do the what? 4 times we've done it.
Hey, by the time this episode comes out, it could be like 10.
Yeah, I guess you're right. This could be like episode 10 or 12 or something like that.
Anyways, quirky careers. We got another one.
Oh, yeah.
One that I've never heard of really before. And I did not know they make this much money. But, Wilson, did you know that you can become a professional flavorist?
Really?
Sounds so
Flavorist. It's basically somebody who creates natural and artificial flavors.
Well, those are
for
all
like
the flavors.
Gatorade.
I mean, I guess somebody's got to make the new Gatorade flavors, right?
Yeah, like cool blue,
Or
yellow, red.
Dude, the cucumber flavor. Have you?
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Wilson knows. Jesse Wells
Yeah.
loves the cucumber flavor.
Really? That's the
Yeah.
first person I know that likes it.
No, that's his like favorite flavor.
I
At
did
least.
try it recently, and I kind of liked it.
The smell is just so bad. I think
Yeah.
the smell is just like cucumbers.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, but on this like little website that we're looking at, it says that flavors can make like $17 to $35 an hour. But I also did some more research and figured out. I looked up like flavors jobs on ZipRecruiter.
Yeah.
And senior flavorists
With
can make
Pepsi.
an average of $125K.
Average.
Wow.
Yeah, with upwards of like 170.
Wow. That's crazy.
That really is.
I feel like Pepsi doesn't even change their flavors very often.
But I mean, if you think about, yeah, I guess it's true. But there's always like, well, it's not Pepsi, but like Dr. Pepper vanilla,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
like cherry.
Think
or,
about Lay's. Like, you can't go to any Walmart and find less than like 3 different Lay's flavored chips.
Yeah, you're right.
actually, yeah, not just drinks, like chips. Yeah, because like Pepsi, that's like Frito
I never
Lay.
thought someone like would. What kind of degree do you need to be a flavorist?
Hungry.
Wait, didn't it like say right here?
I don't know.
Chemistry or something?
It says you have to have your PhD in chemistry, biochemistry,
I'm out then.
That's
chemistry
cool,
or
though.
biochemistry.
Hey, look, we found something those degrees can do.
Yeah, if you're a chemistry degree or biochemistry and you're like, man, I'm really down bad right now. I don't want to be a TA.
I don't want to be a professor.
Apply to PepsiCo. There's a senior flavors position out there calling your name.
Yeah.
Lots of money
Yeah.
to be made.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Pretty cool.
Yep. So, Wilson, thank you so much for coming
thanks,
on.
Wilson.
Anytime.
We've been trying to get you for a while. We finally
Glad to be
forced you
here.
to do it.
I know.
Yeah.
And hey, we'll all be eagerly awaiting the
drop.
the
The
books
first book.
the books to come out.
It'll be announced.
Maybe it'll be out by the time this
Maybe.
podcast
We could,
is
like,
out.
race.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wilson, just hop over there, start writing as fast as possible, so that way by the
Right
time
now.
we publish it, it'll be ready. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and listening to Finding Zeal. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're watching on
Yeah.
YouTube, and
Follow.
Do
write
it
a
right
review.
now.
Actually, I haven't mentioned this in any of our podcasts, but you should totally write a review if you like listening. If you listen to the end of this episode, then,
Yeah.
I mean, chances are you.
Comment book.
No, tell us why we suck.
But also leave a 5-star review. If you don't leave a 5-star review, don't leave a review at all. But it helps the podcast get heard by other people.
Yeah.
Anyways, it's been Cohen.
It's been Josh.
And
Thank you for watching Finding Zeal. That's going to be so bad every time. Okay, cool.